My dear friends, welcome back to Be Spice. In this session, we'll discuss about IEC 61511. Okay, so this IEC 61511 we'll discuss in two parts. The part one will focus in this session. Part two will be in a separate session. Okay. Because, there are a lot of classes we need to, focus. So, just for the sake of, the time, I want to, keep it within 30 minutes so that you will also not get bored. Okay. So, before moving on with the agenda, okay, I hope you have watched the previous session on IEC 61508. So if you have not watched, I request all of you to spend some time to watch that because the 61508 focus more on the vendors, right? Yeah, safety requirements for vendors, meaning the system integrators, yeah, the DCS, the safety PLC vendors. But this one, 511 is more for the end user, okay, implementation part. Okay, friends, end user. Okay. So here in this session, what we are going to focus, we'll touch upon about the overview, okay, then the scope, what exactly it do, and also the technical requirements, then support requirements, and most importantly, why do we apply IEC? What is the reason? What's the rationale? And when must IEC 61508 be used in lieu of IEC 61511? We'll get the answer for these questions. Then hazard and risk analysis requirements. Then IEC 61508 and IEC 61511 relationship. How IEC 61511 related to IEC 61508. How it is related. All these things will get the answer, friends. Then class 5 will talk about functional safety management and class 6 safety life cycle, and we'll wind up this session with class 7, that is verification. So these are the things, friends, very important. You can spare some time and yeah, you can watch. Right. So let's move on. Overview. As we know, IEC 61511 standard is a process sector requirement, process sector specific implementation of the IEC 61508 standard. So this is actually developed for the vendors, and this one is for the end user. Okay, right. So basically, IEC 61511 sets a minimum standards for the design and operation of safety instrumented system. Okay. So this is about the overview. Okay. Then we talk about the scope. See, basically, this 511 consists of three parts, friends. Okay. Part one, okay, IEC 61511, part one consists of requirements that must be met. What are those? Scope, okay, system approach and the complete loop. It talks about the scope, right? Then safety life cycle management of functional safety. Okay. Then configuration of safety instrumented function and application software. Okay. So these are the three in part one. Okay. In part two, it focuses on the guidance, guidance for this part one. Okay. Then part three, guidelines on risk evaluation. Okay. Evaluation. Okay. Guidelines on risk evaluation. So these are the things actually. IEC 61 consists of three parts. Okay. Part one, part two, part three. Okay. Then in the guidelines, what are we doing actually? We are doing these methods of SIL determination and risk classification. Okay. So this is a general scope of this IEC 61511. Okay. Okay. To delve further, the standards specifically applies when safety instrumented functions are designed to meet the safety requirements of a process unit. Okay, right. So there are specific requirements start with the need for hazard and risk analysis. The risk beyond tolerable risk criteria must be allocated to independent layers of protection or safety instrumented function. Friends, if you have a difficulty, in following this, you can watch the previous video, that is layers of protection analysis. There we, talked about the independent layers of protection extensively so that you will, get. So basically our intent is we are going to cover this, IEC and the safety related throughout this, month actually. So that's why I'm actually started with the LOPA and slowly I touched upon this 5161508. Now it is 511. Okay. Again, friends, this is just more of a information for you. Everybody knows IEC 608, 61508. Everybody knows 61511. But we should also know what is inside, which part focus on what. That is the intent actually. Okay, coming back to this. See, there are also requirements for many engineering tasks done to design, implement, operate, and maintain the safety instrument system, right? Yes, these are the scope. So the standard explains the requirement for functional safety, but does not specify the responsibility for implementation. That's the point. The standard explains the requirements for functional safety, but does not specify responsibility for implementation. That decision must be made by individual companies, meaning the process owners, operators, okay, and may depend in great part on local regulation, okay, depends on the local regulations. I hope you understand this, right? Okay. Though the standard uses a defined engineering process called the safety life cycle and lists required duties for each step in the safety life cycle. Okay. The safety life cycle uses a performance-based approach. That's the point, friends. Performance-based approach with probabilistic numbers assigned to each safety instrumented function depending on the needed risk reduction. Okay. I hope this general scope is clear, friends. Okay, right. Technical requirements. Okay, we'll start with the clause 8. Okay. So, development of overall safety requirements. The clause 8 actually focus on development of overall safety requirement. What is that? Concept, scope, hazard, and risk analysis. Okay. Then clause 9 and 10. Friends, again, this is an overview. Clause 8 actually focus on the development of overall safety. What is that? Concept, scope, hazard, and risk analysis. Then clause 9 and 10 focus on allocation and safety requirement specification. In fact, we are going to have one more session on safety requirement specification. What are all the contents, the look and feel, all these. Don't worry. Okay, just get to know. Clause 9 and 10 focus on allocation and safety requirements specification. Clause 11, it's focus on the design of safety instrumented system. Design. Then clause 12, design of software. Okay, clause design of software. Okay, then 13 and 14 talk about factory acceptance test, installation commissioning, and safety validation. Okay. Then 15 and 16, operation and maintenance, modification, retrofit, decommissioning, and disposal. Okay. So these are the technical requirements, friends. Again, this is an overview. I'm going to give you the details of each clause in the subsequent videos, meaning the next video, which is 61511 part 2. Okay. Right. Then support requirements. See, the support requirements is a conformance. So the conformance is classified in the clause 4. Then clause 5 actually management of functional safety. Clause 6 is safety life cycle requirements. Clause 7 verification. Okay. Clause 17 information requirement. Okay. Right. So these are the support. So here we focused on the technical, okay, clause 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, up to 16, okay. Then here, clause 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, all these, support requirements, that's it. Clause 17 also information requirement. Then support part. In the clause 2, part 1, it is actually giving a references, all references will be here. Then in clause 3, part 1, definition and abbreviation will be there. Then Annex A, part 1. So the differences will be there. Differences in the sense in line with IEC 61508, all those actually. Then part 2, guidelines for the application of part 1. Okay. Part 3, risk-based approaches to the development of safety integrity requirements. Okay, these are the support parts. Now, very important. When do we apply IEC 61511? Yes, IEC 61511 standard is applied when instrumentation is being integrated into a safety function at an end user site in the process industry. You got it, friends? Yes. The term integrate is used specifically to differentiate from the development of instrumentation and control product. Okay, friends, you got it? See, the development of instrumentation and control product that deals with IEC 61508. That is, the manufacturer. Okay, the system guys. But here 511 is integrated into a safety function at the end user implementation part. I hope this is clear. Okay, now another important. When must IEC 61508 be used in lieu of IEC 61511? IEC 61511 specifically covers project level work targeted for an end user application. Project, okay, implementation part. Generally, this is done with a limited variability language like those described in IEC 61131 part 3, ladder logic and function block. Okay, that's the point here. So the question is, when must IEC 508 be used in lieu of 511? Okay, so as we know, 511 specifically covers project level work. So generally, this is done with a limited variability. Okay, for described in IEC 61131 part 3. Okay. However, when the project uses a programmable electronic system programmed with high variability language like C, C++, Pascal, all these are the requirement of IEC 61508. Sorry, this is typo error. 61508 must be met. 61508 must be met. So now the question is, we are asking when must IEC be used in lieu of 511? So only in this case, limited variability language, ladder logic, function block, that time we can use it. We can use this IEC 61508 in lieu of 511. But otherwise, when project uses a programmable electronic system, predominantly we use this, then whatever the requirement of 61508 must be met. Okay, I hope you got it. Okay, friends. Now, another important, what is the relationship? IEC 61508, 511. How is the relationship? IEC 511 clearly states that it is applies to the process industries, right? And is primarily intended project level work typically done by integrators and end users. Okay, friends? Right. IEC 511 is not intended for new product development done by manufacturer and suppliers of equipment because that is done using 61508. Oh, clear, friends? I hope. Okay, right. Manufacturer and suppliers are expected to follow IEC 61508. Of course, experienced engineers know all this, but again, for freshers and intermediate, this is a very useful video, friends. You can watch and get benefited. Okay. Now, how IEC 61511 related to IEC 61508? Okay. Now, you see, friends, there is some correlation actually. Okay. Process sector, for to develop the new hardware, we follow IEC 61508. Correct? Okay. Use proven in use hardware devices, follow IEC 61511. You are getting it right? See, when you develop a new hardware device, you have to follow 61508. When you want to use proven in use hardware devices, follow IEC 61511. Okay. Then use hardware developed and validated according to IEC 61508. That time you follow IEC 61511. Use hardware developed and validated according to, then follow this 6151. Okay. I hope this is clear. Okay. That is about the process sector hardware. Now process sector software. Develop embedded system software. That time follow IEC 61508. Develop application software using full variability language. Follow IEC 61508. Develop application software using limited variability. Okay, that time you follow IEC 61511. This we discussed in the earlier slide, right? Yes. So this is about the hardware and software. Now, clause 5, it talks about functional safety management. So what is the objective? The objective of clause 5 is to identify the management activities that are necessary to ensure the functional safety objectives are met. Okay. It defines a detailed life cycle implementation. See, basically scope. They define the scope, the relevant phases. Okay. Expected input in the sense like, customers, suppliers, all these actually. They also comes under this functional safety. Then deliverables, the documents, logics, all these. Then define techniques for each phase and responsible department and information flow, competency and training. All this comes under class 5. Okay. Then here we talk about functional safety management. It's more on, life cycle, technicalities, all these competency. Here, functional safety management resources actually. Resources shall be informed of their responsibilities. Resources shall be competent to carry out activities for which they are accountable. Competent in the sense like, the certification, TUV, Greenland, all these actually. So if you see knowledge of application, knowledge of SIS technology, safety engineering knowledge, knowledge of regulatory requirements, advocate management and leadership skills, understanding of potential event consequences, SIL of safety instrumented function, novelty and complexity of application and SIS. Okay, that's about the resources. Then functional safety management planning actually. So define the required activities, resources responsible for the activities, timing of the activity. For example, you are going to have a proof test. So when you want to have a proof test, of course, we are going to cover that in a separate video. Don't worry. Proof test, what is the proof test, all these. Okay. Then planning shall be updated as necessary through entire safety life cycle. This is the planning phase. Now, class 5, functional safety management, implementation and monitoring. So they implement the procedures for the resolution of recommendation, hazard and risk assessment, assessment activity, verification activity, validation activity, verify the quality management of suppliers, implement the procedures for evaluating the performance of SIS against the requirements. All these comes under implementation and monitoring. Okay, friends? This is about the class 5, functional safety management. Now, under functional safety, there is assessment actually. So this assessment is performed by the team, one competent senior person not involved in the design, meaning outside the project. Okay, to be performed after the below listed stages, at least after stage 3. Okay, first stage is what? Hazard and risk assessment and safety requirement specification. Okay. Then after this SIS design, stage 2. Then stage 3 after commissioning and validation. So the point is we need to perform this assessment after this. That is the point here. Okay. Then stage 4 is after experience in operation and maintenance. Stage 5 is after modification. So this is the safety assessment. Okay. Then stage 3 requirement. See, now we talked about here, right, after commissioning and validation. So we should know the stage 3 requirement. So stage 3, hazard and analysis completed, recommendations completed. Okay. Recommendation from previous functional safety assessment resolved. SIS is designed, constructed and installed as per the SRS. SRS, I will highlight, I will, record a separate video for us. Don't get don't worry actually. So the point is SIS already designed, constructed and installed as per the SRS. Okay. Operating and maintenance procedures are already in place. Validation activity completed. Employee training completed. Plans for further safety, functional safety assessment done. All this done. So these are the stage 3 requirements. See, when we say after commissioning and validation, so you should actually meet all these. That is the point here. Okay. Then in class 5 itself, in functional safety assessment, there is one audit and revision. See what we are doing here. procedures for auditing compliance with the requirement of the standard defined, meaning frequency of audits, degree of independence of auditor, recording and follow-up, then management of change procedure, MOC. For example, friends, I think if you are an end user, in a plant, we have this some insurance requirement. So a lot of documentation, all these will be there. And one of the is the proof test actually. Like you need to do the proof test once in a 6 months means you need to do once in a 1 year means you need to do all this and you have to keep it record actually. When insurance comes, they will do all this auditing actually. That is the point here. So it is also recommended that the audits be performed at various times throughout the safety life cycle. Okay. So that's about the audit. Then clause 6, safety life cycle. So I will also, highlight this. You can see here, we have seen, right? Clause 5, management of safety, and clause 6, the structure and the planning, and, the risk analysis, clause 8, the allocation, clause 9, safety instrument requirement specification. This is clause 10. Okay. All these we are going to highlight in the next video actually. Clause 11. Okay. And clause 14, 15, all these we are going to see in detail. Okay, now we'll go back to the subject. See, the objective of the safety life cycle are to define the phases and establish the requirements for each activity in an organized engineering process. So that is the point, objective. The safety life cycle also exists to ensure that adequate planning exists to make certain that safety instrumented system shall meet the safety requirements. So these are the things actually we are going to do as part of safety life cycle. See, basically, if you look at this, it looks different, right? From the one in IEC. That's why I asked you have to follow, read this IEC 61508, watch the previous video. So it looks different from the one in IEC 61, but concepts are similar because IEC 61508 used for the manufacturers, right? And here you are using this for implementation. That's it, friends. Very simple. Yeah. Okay. What is the objective? See, the safety life cycle is a representation of the tasks that are required to be performed to ensure the safe of the automation system. Okay. The life cycle is a roadmap for the management of the SIS design process intended to accomplish the below activities. Objective. What is that? Systematically structure the different phases of SIS design so that the required functional safety will be achieved. Document the key information. Provide a framework for engineering with certain tasks done in specific sequences, thereby reducing the overall implementation cost. So that is the objective, friends. Okay, right. Then clause 7, verification. See, we have done everything right. Now we need to do the verification. The objective of clause 7 is to demonstrate by review, analysis, and or testing that the required output satisfy the defined requirement for the appropriate phases of the safety life cycle identified by the verification planning. Verification is a collection of quality assurance tasks done throughout the safety life cycle. Okay. It is expected that verification tasks be done to make sure the documentation deliverables are actually completed during each phase of the safety life cycle. Okay. Few more. Yeah. I think it is getting repeated, I believe. Yeah, this is getting repeated, friends. Yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot for your, time. Friends, again, my intent is to give you a very, comprehensive idea about 61508 and 61511 before proceeding to the SIL verification and SIL classification and verification. So that is my intent actually, so that you are very comfortable. So next coming up, 61511 part 2, wherein, the clause 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all these 17, all these will focus on this in detail. Okay. Thanks again for watching. And yeah, I hope I have given some, very useful information. So if you feel the same, you can show your support by pressing the thumbs up button and subscribe And if possible, share with your friends who are in need of this so that they can also get benefited. Thanks a lot, friends. Bye bye. See you. Take care.